Chads, with BJJ exploding in growth as the years come and hundreds of thousands of grappling academies opening up across the world, across the United States, sometimes it is hard to dispel what is fact or fiction based on the lore of the Gracies and what have you. In this video, we're going to be going over some of the biggest myths that are in the sport of grappling. Let's get started. Number 1, size does not matter. Unfortunately, Chads, despite what your partner tells you, male or female, they or them, size does matter in the sport of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, okay? No matter how good your technique is, there's always going to be a guy bigger, stronger, and faster that'll just say no to your technique, okay? And if that guy knows a little bit of technique, then a lot of technique gets nullified, okay? And so size does matter. That's why there's weight classes in the sport. That's why in absolute divisions, you often see the bigger man winning, okay? Sometimes you see the small guy win, like Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson in his brown belt debut at the, I believe it was the World Championships, but oftentimes than not, the bigger man is gonna put it on the smaller man. But we do live for these David and Goliath moments where the small man comes out victorious. Number 2, Ghee training is essential for no-gi and MMA growth, okay? I'm not sure where this one come from, but I hear this often a lot with a lot of the old school professors and gi lovers. I have nothing against gi. If you like gi, that's fine, cool. But it is a different sport than no-gi, okay? Lapels are not used in no-gi, therefore, how can gi make you better at no-gi? I think it is obvious that if you want to get better at no-gi, you would just train no-gi more often. And the top no-gi grapplers in the world train no-gi full-time, aka Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, B-Team, New Wave. They do not put on the gi every so often each week. They train no-gi every day, twice a day, alright? And if you want to get better at no-gi, you do no-gi, okay? And I'm not sure how gi translates to MMA, okay? I see a lot of MMA fighters, they're held back on their belts or not given a belt because they do not train in the gi. For example, John Jones will not get a brown belt till he trains in the gi more often, according to his jiu-jitsu coach. I think John Jones has phenomenal jiu-jitsu, and it would be a waste of time for him to train in the gi because he is a mixed martial artist. You have even less clothing on in the cage than you do on the mats, okay? You are in there like with spandex and you have gloves on. It is a totally different sport, and why would you ever train in the gi, okay? MMA guys should train grappling with gloves on, shirtless, where it's much more slicker, okay? I do not see how lapels make your MMA better, okay? There's freaking strikes involved in MMA, okay? I just don't see it. If it's your only option to train jiu-jitsu, then yeah, I could see it. But if you got the option to train no-gi or grappling with MMA gloves, then I think you should do that. Number 3, leg locks are extremely dangerous to train, more dangerous to train than any other submission, okay? I used to think this as well. I was deathly terrified of leg locks, and they should be respected just like any other submission, okay? Any submission is dangerous. We're playing a game of choking people out, choking them unconscious, and breaking limbs, okay? That is why you must respect the tap, and tap early and tap often, okay? This applies to leg locks, okay? You just need to familiarize yourself with the position, understand it, and understand when you're in trouble, okay? It is no different than an armbar or Kimura lockup. If you wait too late, your shit's gonna get snapped. But if you don't wait, and you know when you're got, and you tap when you need to tap, you'll be perfectly fine, okay? Also goes with the saying, you need to have safe training partners. If you got partners ripping Kimuras, ripping armbars on you, then you probably shouldn't train with these folks, because these folks will probably also rip heel hooks and rip leg locks on you, okay? And we do not want torn ACLs, torn MCLs, or any ligaments upon the knee, okay? We want our knees to be healthy, and therefore train smart with smart training partners, and tap early, tap often, and don't just freaking bum rush a submission, okay? It's like any other submission in jiu-jitsu. You gotta respect it, you gotta familiarize yourself with it, and know when to tap, okay? And that is subjective to every man, you know? If you wanna, have your pride get in the way, and wait to tap, that's on you. That's not on your training partner. But if you would like to go to work the next day and not have your stuff snapped, then I suggest tapping early and knowing when you are got and when you are in a compromised position. The next myth that is a huge myth is that the hardest belt to get is white belt. Okay, that is just simply not true. Okay, you have to do absolutely nothing to be a white belt. In fact, everybody, whether or not you train jiu-jitsu or not, you're a white belt. Okay, because that is where you start. Everybody starts off with the white belt. Okay. It is harder to get your blue belt than it is to have a white belt. It is harder to get a purple belt than it is to get your blue belt, okay? That is why there are rankings and systems and higher, okay? If white belt was the hardest belt to get, then everybody who started jiu-jitsu would end up in black belt. But that is just simply not the case, okay? Several people quit at white, several people at blue. There's, in fact, more blue belts that quit than any other ranking in jiu-jitsu, which I thought was interesting. And so if white belt was truly the hardest belt to get, then we would only see a few blue belts or a few purple belts, but that's just simply not the case. Okay, it is way harder to get the next belt up, and there's significantly less people at each belt up. Okay, that is why there are few black belts. The next myth I would like to dispel is that if you just show up, you'll get better. Alright, that is just simply not true, okay? Unfortunately, if that were the case, the blue belt that's been a blue belt for 12 years would be a black belt, but that is just simply not the case. If you do not consciously think about what you're doing at practice or consciously trying to work on a skill and get better, and you just show up and get beat up every time you come, you're probably not going to get promoted or get any better, okay? I would like to think that you would get better if you just show up, and that is sometimes half the battle, just showing up. But you also have to think, work hard, and put in the time and study in order to level up and get better, okay? You gotta ask the right questions, gotta know where your weaknesses are and where your strengths are, and how to level up and get better as a BJJ practitioner. Number 6, there is no ego. That is simply not true. The sport of jiu-jitsu is based off ego, okay? The Gracie challenge matches, okay? Those are egos on full display. They would take all the other martial arts and challenge them to a fight. I mean, in the fact that their ego is so big, they think the jiu-jitsu is better than any other martial art, okay? Like, the whole sport is based on egos, okay? People do not want to get tapped. People want to get the higher belt to have higher rank over people. It's just an ego-filled sport. People do competitions in order to win medals. They'll pay money to win medals and win tournaments because they want to boost their ego. Like, whether you want to accept it or not, like, we all have an ego, and we all, have an ego in jiu-jitsu, and I think the more so it's just like trying to not let that get in the way of our progress and get in the way of our training and relationships with our training partners. But at the end of the day, the whole sport's based around ego. It's a competition, and competition is ego-based. So, and then last but not least is that technique is far superior than strength and conditioning. That is just simply not true. Top BJJ athletes, all the pros, do strength and conditioning regimens, okay? If that was not the case, then, we wouldn't have people on steroids in jiu-jitsu, okay? Strength and conditioning matters a crap ton, okay? If you gas out, then your technique is no good. Your technique goes down the crapper, If you don't have the strength and stamina to last in a match, then you'll just freaking get pummeled over and horsecocked and freaking by a guy with less technique but is in better shape, Plus, we don't want our sport to be filled with, like, guys that aren't athletes, We don't want to have guys that are just fat and lazy, just rule the sport. Like, that just gives it a bad look. Like, then what does that say if BJJ guy goes against a boxer who's cut, diced, and sliced and in shape and ready to go? Like, probably going to be a few steps behind if he's not doing strength and conditioning. So it's important. Technique is not the only thing. Technique matters, but you need to have that strength and conditioning. Chaz, those are some of the biggest myths I've come across in the jiu-jitsu space. Let me know down below if you have any other myths you've come across. I'm sure I've missed quite a few, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Like I said, also, we have Psychopharma. Go to them for your supplements. They have great pre-workout, Edge of Insanity. I use the Infinite Brain. Use code CHADJITSU, capital C, rest is lowercase, CHADJITSU. 20% off all products there at checkout. I'll have a link below. And then also go to X Marshall and get some sweet gear for your BJJ Chads for Christmas, alright? They have Black Friday sales. Use the link below in order to purchase some gear. I also have a discount code for them, CHADJITSU, all capital letters for 15% off. Great gear. And yeah, so thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.